Hi folks, welcome to my channel. I do journal entries for my 8-bit hobby, and it's been usually once a week, although not guaranteed. And I focus on the computers I grew up with, one of which is the Sinclair QL, which you'll see right here. For November, a small group of us are getting together to do QL related content. I'll put in here some of the folks that are doing this. I'll tag them. And we'll put a hashtag QLvember on our videos, and you can join in if you want. If you have a QL and you want to share what you've been doing with this great machine, just put the hashtag QLvember in your video and post it sometime in November. This kind of is a follow-on to Septandy, which was for Tandy computers, which also doesn't get as much love out there as it should. The QL is a much smaller community, so you'll see less videos, but hopefully they'll be high quality, and I hope you can join us. Thanks, and on to my video. Hi folks, welcome to my 8-bit Retro Journal. If you just saw my two previous videos, I was doing some AI on the QL based on a book by Tim Hartnell. And I also sort of shared with you guys that I had a few other books, including this one. Well, since then I kind of leafed through this book, and I'd forgotten how interesting this one is as well. In fact, in its first chapter, you can see that it has board games, and one of them is chess, which is like the AI game that's out there, right? So if we take a look at that, you can see that, yeah, trying not to, again, break the spine and focus with one hand, but you can see that there's the chess section. He kind of goes into detail on how he implemented and wrote the chess game, and then it's a few pages of basic. Now it's not basic for the QL or any other ZX81 or any specific machine. It's actually basic for just generic, pretty generic basic for most computers. And you can see it's not actually that many pages. I implemented this as a kid for the ZX81 because that's when I got the book, and I had to be creative because it has some of the basic features that the ZX81 doesn't have, including data statements. So I had to put them into strings, I think is how I handled it. And then I think this is the last page. He also has a section here where he creates a sort of a self-playing version. In any case, so I had typed this in as a kid, and I recently recovered this off of this tape. You can see that, I don't know if you can see this or not, there's actually Chess After Battleship, the game that I wrote. So I got this finally able to load on this, and then sent it back to my computer, and was able to create actually a text file out of it, basics. I didn't have to retype the whole program. So what I want to do today is I want to actually, so if we first look on here, you'll see that what I've got running on my Timex Sinclair 1000 is the famous 1K chess, which is you can see I don't have any memory extension on there. So this is a 1K chess program written for the Timex Sinclair 1000 ZX81. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pit this against and let me, I think I'm going to have to probably, to make this more readable, let me, yeah, let me dim this a bit, and so that this can, let's see if this is, so, yeah, that gives it kind of the same level. And so let's hope that this actually focuses on both. If I put it in the middle, it's going to get really bright. But let me try that and dim this some more. See if that helps. Oops. I think that might do it. Again, if I go here, so the levels are pretty good at this point. So let's hope that this actually focuses. So yeah, what I want to do is I want to play ZX81 chess against the Tim Hartnell chess, both running on a ZX81, my ZXSimulator running on the QL, versus the actual Timex Sinclair 1000. So the game is already started. They both started, unfortunately. The same piece, kind of, but so I've learned that if I go and put in this move here, even though they're already both started, then this will move its piece one more and then we'll be in sync. So let me do that. So I have to move 7D, 5D, 7D, 5D, and so now it moves its piece. It's pretty deterministic, so it's going to move its piece one down. There it is, and so now I can move 2D to 4D, D2 to D4, and it's a little slow, so it's going to take a bit of time, but that's okay. That's the fun of running old computers. Again, I hope that the screen is readable. I'm zooming sort of in the middle versus if I zoom in here or here, that actually makes it darker. So I'm going to stay right here in the middle. Hopefully that gives me a good picture. Okay, so so it's actually now computing its move, and I'm going to do a few of these, and then I'm just going to move on to the end just to see how it fared, so that I don't create a 2-hour-long video for this. But it does take a bit of a time for it to find its move. So waiting for it to and again, the ZXSimulator kind of runs at ZX81 speed, so this actually would be the speed for which it would run if I were running it on two. If I actually were comparing apples to apples and running on two ZX81s. Okay, so it moved C7. It looks like. Yeah, it moved its pawn C7 to C6, so 6C. 7C, now it's doing its thing, and so it moved its pawn from A2 to A3, A2 to A3. And again, the way this program was written was for it to basically scroll up a screen with non-graphics. So I had to add in the graphics and the inverted characters. I think he used upper and lowercase in his original, in Tim Hartnell's original text. So we'll play a few more rounds of this, and then I'll just jump to the end just to see how it plays. So yeah, if you read his notes, he actually has a strategy in here that he tries to follow, and you can kind of see that we'll see if either one of them, we can start seeing what the strategy is for either one of them. But I've also experienced that just having played around with it a little bit this week, that it starts speeding up when more pieces have been moved. So I think there's just a lot for it to consider when there's so few moves in the beginning. It does weight its moves. So E7 to E6. So E7 to E6. So it's just moving its pawns out. So 7E, 6E. Yeah, you can see that it's just moving. It's creating this nice wedge, which is kind of a common thing to do in chess. So let's see what... so this just moved its pawn further out. Again, I'm not sure if it's... Maybe that's a little better. So it moved its pawn one further step. So from A3 to A4. A3 to A4. And off we go. And I expect Tim Hartnell is going to probably continue moving the pawns. I don't recall if it has a set of opening moves, but it's probably going to try to sort of start pushing up. Let's see what it does next. And I'm not going to actually speed it up at this point, just so you can sort of see the feel of this basic, how this basic program is actually running. I think that's valuable to see that. I could run this on an emulator on the QL, both of these, and speed them up, but you know, where's the fun in that? I kind of want to see how they run on the original machines, because and again, I'm actually obviously running this not on the QL, but on the ZXSimulator that's running on the QL. So if you haven't watched my videos on that, the ZXSimulator is a ROM emulator of the ZX81. So I basically re-implemented the BASIC with all its graphics on the QL. And so it runs about real time, a little faster than for some things, a little slower for other things. So 7F to 5F. So it's moving its pawn out. Okay, so 7F to 5F. I've gotten good. I've played this a little bit, so I've gotten good at the fact that this does letter number, this does number this letter number number letter, so it's a little confusing. So 7F to 5F, 7F, 5F, and the other thing to note is that this board is flipped upside down. So if you can see, it's 1 through 8. H through A, and this is A through H, 8 through 1. And so it kind of works out perfectly that if you flip this around, that even though the pieces here, the top ones are white, the white chess piece is actually the black piece down here. All right, so what it did is, yeah, so now this is sort of what I've come accustomed to. What it's going to do now is it's going to move its rook up and down. So this is a very conservative set of moves. And I don't know if it's designed that way or just because it does a very short look ahead and so it doesn't know what to do. So basically, this rook is going to keep moving up and down and laterally. So A1, A2. And the nice thing about Tim Hartnell is that it tends to not repeat its moves. It seems to always be sort of forging forward, which is kind of nice, I think, because it means that, you know, there's a strategy in play, and I think that's important. Whereas if what you're doing is moving a piece back and forth, you're kind of wasting. I mean, you're kind of playing possum. And in chess, if you're playing against a really good opponent, I mean, you can already see if you watch the Tim Hartnell's, like he's building up the center, which is kind of nice. It'll be interesting to see what he does next. I read at one point, I know there's a strategy that he uses in this book, and I read that at one point, but I forget. It's been a long time what that strategy is. Let's see what he comes up with next. Is he just going to keep moving his pawns forward? Is he going to start moving some of the other pieces? So that'll be the interesting part of this. See what does take a little bit. I mean, again, this is running in BASIC versus machine code, so this has a little bit of an advantage of machine code versus this running in BASIC. Hopefully, I missed it, but I'm focusing on the center, so hopefully both screens get focused in on. It's hard to capture that. So what's he doing now? Is he... Oh, he pushed one of the pawns forward. So from F5 to F4. So 5, F4, F. So that's pretty aggressive. I like that. It's a good, it's not necessarily a bad strategy. Let's see what if he gets attacked. Now, if you notice, just moves his rook right back. So that rook gets pulled right back. Very conservative strategy between them. So 12, I think this is about 12K of basic versus 1K of machine code. So I guess we're kind of figuring out, which one of these does better. Oh yeah, it does kind of pause. I wish it would actually, I should change it so that it actually goes, but it's asking you for various things. So you can make illegal moves here, unfortunately. And you do have to tell it when you're in check, when you're putting your opponent in check. So it gives you this feature. There's also a feature to be able to print if you have a line printer, etc. But for now, I don't have that implemented in the ZXSimulator. So let's see where we are now. So it's pushing its pawns forward, which is actually not a bad opening strategy, especially if the opponent is not. So I don't think he's going to push his pawns any further. Let's see if he starts moving some of the other pieces. Again, I've been disappointed by the ZX81 1K chess just kind of moving its rook back and forth. Is it's safe, I suppose, but you're not really building up the center the way Tim Hartnell's program is doing it. So let's see what it does. This time I want to try to pay attention, because if I just get the coordinates, then I can literally type them in the other one. I don't have to try to hunt down what it's doing. It does add a pause statement when it shows it, so you get about a second or two to grab that. It's thinking. It's a very slow novice chess championship, I guess. But again, running on an old 8-bit computer, well, emulated 8-bit computer, so still pretty impressive that that this could run on a ZX81. And I'm talking about Tim Hartnell's program, and obviously this is an impressive feat in coding, that you could have such a small program, 1K, whereas with the extra memory, it's still pretty impressive that in 12K you can have a program that at least has some semblance of strategy, where I'm interested to see if it actually starts moving some of the other pieces, or is it? If I recall, I thought he had a strategy of like moving the knights out at one point, but it's still thinking. So let's see what it comes up with next. This is exciting stuff, right? If you like chess. Yeah, so far everything is pretty much protected. I suppose the ZX81 could take the pawn, because there's actually a straight path from the bishop all the way up. Oops, sorry. The bishop all the way up to the pawn. Right. And that would be So the pawn's currently unprotected. So it would be smart if Tim Hartnell would push its other pawn out, but I don't know if he's going to do that or not. Probably this would be the last set of moves, and then I'll take this offline because it's taking a long time just to see how it ends up playing, and I'll come back to it with its finale. But unfortunately, yeah, speed is not something that this is. This is not a fast running program, and if I had an accelerator on my QL, it would speed things up. But yeah, it's definitely thinking, and if it doesn't, oh, here it goes. I missed it, but oh, it moved. Yeah, it moved one of his knights. Oh, I see. So you can see that it moved its knight out. So it is starting to think. You can see it took quite a bit of time to think about that. So it was HG to H6, HG, H6, 6H, sorry. And yeah, so unfortunately the ZX81 just kind of moves. It moves its rook again, so basically it's just moving its rook one up. So let me come back after playing this a while to see where we can end up. Okay, so we're back. The reason I stopped, the game hasn't finished yet, is because I think I have a bug in my implementation of Tim Hartnell's code. It actually is just not returning a move, and there's a piece. So what I did is, because you can do illegal moves here, I just moved my opponent's piece, the rook, which was sitting actually right here next to those three pawns. I just moved it to itself, and I think that caused it to remove itself, but it's still stuck. So if I do that, if I just type in C4 to C4, there's nothing there, right? So you see those three pawns that are white. Right next to it was a rook, and I just typed in C4 to C4, and which is an illegal move, but it doesn't care about that. And again, a rook should be sitting there. You can see on here that the white rook is right in that area. And what you'll see is I didn't realize that if I move my own piece to my own place, which is an illegal move, it actually removed me from the board. I should have just moved an empty slot to an empty slot, but you'll see it'll say please wait, stand by, and it'll just reprint the board. It doesn't actually ever give a move. So there's a bug and it's repeatable. There's a bug in my implementation, so it just reprints the board. I will say, having gotten as far as I've gotten, Tim Hartnell's game actually played pretty interesting. The ZX81 1K chess is pretty boring. You can see that it's hardly moved any of its pieces. It's moved 3 bishops, it's lost 1, it's moved the knight in the corner and the rook. And mostly what it's done is it had the 2 bishops, the 2 pawns out. Sorry, it hasn't moved the bishop. It's moved the knight and the rook and 3 pawns, and that's it. And basically, a lot of time it just spent moving the rook back and forth like that, or across. Like it wouldn't commit to anything. It finally moved the knight. You can see right here that it moved the knight from there to there. But if you look at again Tim Hartnell's, which is on this port, the bottom part, the black piece, and on this port it's the white. He really has moved all of his pieces out, and he's trying to build a strategy. And I actually read in his book, he talks about his strategy, and it's interesting that here's the couple sentences. To make the program in this book play and to get it to play reasonably quickly demanded a number of compromises. I traded in-depth evaluation against some rough and ready playing ideas. These included programming the computer to move pieces to help hold the center as much as possible, to develop knights as soon as possible in the game, to capture by pawn regardless of the fact that the pawn faced immediate capture whenever possible, to hold the king as immobile as possible, at least in the early stages of the game, when a cowardly approach would seem to make the good sense, and to allow pieces with vast mobility, such as the queen, a randomly weighted decision-making mechanism, which would ensure it did not sail off the other side of the board just because it was a clear channel was open for it to do so. And you can really see that. Definitely try to control the center of the board, which is an important aspect, and cleared it all out. So it's actually much more fun to watch Tim Hartnell's game as it was to watch the ZX81 1K chess. What I want to do is this is a little faster than this, and this is taking a long time. So I'm curious if I run it on the QL emulator, if I can actually get a quicker game going, if it's going to go back to that same error. And so I think I'll try that, and I can also accelerate this on the ZX81 on the emulator as well. So if I run both these on the emulator, which again I kind of hate doing, I just want to see if I can get a different result. So I'm going to try that, and then I'm also going to we'll also quickly look at the code, which is right here, just to kind of peruse through that quickly. All right, so let's go onto the computer, and this time I'll do the old-fashioned way of capturing my screen, since I'm going to use an emulator to do that. All right, here we are. I've got this now set up so that they're both kind of, you know, in the same spot now. So again, Tim Hartnell's chess is playing white, and that relates to black here. ZX81 chess is playing white, which relates to black here. So it's my move. So the Tim Hartnell's chess just moved from C7 to C6. So this would be 7C, 6C. And then this chess moved A2 to A3. A2 to A3. And you can see this is much faster now. And then 7E to 6E, 7E, 6E. Okay. And so now it moved, it's A3 to A4. A3 to A4. Um, 7F to 5F. 7F, 5F. And so it moved its rook. So this is kind of what it starts doing. So it went A1 to A2. It kind of does it a lot. But we might get back to the same bug. But anyway, so you get a chance to see how this thing actually plays. Oh, 5F to 4F. So that's actually a bit more aggressive than last time. 5F to 4F, yeah. So 5F, 4F. So it does have some randomness in there. So you can see now all it did is it moved his rook right away back, which is kind of a frustrating thing. So I don't know if that's a good strategy or not. A2, A1. And HG to 6H, HG 6H, HG 6H. I moved this knight up, and again, it just moved its rook back up. So again, it's not a very exciting A1, A2, and you can see that Tim Hartnell's game is actually yeah, it's building the center. This move is new, so now of course I missed what it did. So it moved 8B to 6A. 8B, 6A, yeah. And this one's a little easier because it just keeps moving the rook back and forth. So A2 to A1, A2, A1. 7B to 6B, 7B, 6B, and it just moved the A1 to A2, Let's see what it does. G7, G6, G7, 7G, 7G, 6G. Move the rook all the way back. A2, A1, A2, A1. 6G, 5G. 6G, 5G. Let's move the rook back up. A1, A2, F, E7, 8F, E7. So it's moving the, 7E, sorry. Yeah, it's moving the bishop. Move the bishop over. And it just moved its rook back. So A2, A1. 6B, 5B. 6B, 5B. Oh, it finally moved its pawn. Oh, it captured the pawn. Okay. A4 to B5. Yeah. And it should probably take its rook. Yeah. So it just took the rook. So it went B6, no, C6, 6C, 5B, 6C, 5B. All right, we got a game going here now. So this is a little better. Yeah, it just moved its rook up. It's just, again, kind of frustrating. A1, A2, 5B, 4B, 5B, 4B. So it really works on getting those, moving its pieces up. And now all it did is it moved its rook from 2 to 4. So A2 to A4. Oh, it moved the bishop out further one. So it's at 7E to D6, 6D, 7E to 6D, 7E, 6D. And the rook's right back to A4, A2. D8, H1, D8, H1, D8, so 8D1H. Oh, wait, so the queen went D8. It cheated. It took the rook, but I don't know. D8. The queen was here, right? So the queen, all the queen can do is go here or here. Yeah, and it went and took this rook. So, yeah, it's got a bug in it. That's an illegal move. So, anyway, that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how the game plays. I still, and I doubt it's a bug in Tim Hartnell's code. It's got to be my implementation of it. I typed this in as a kid, and so yeah, my expectation is that I made a mistake somewhere. I guess I'll go through it again in the future. There's a part of the book where he gives you code on how to have it play itself. So I might add that feature just to take a look at it. To be honest, I don't think the 1K chess is going to be that good for a working version. I mean, if you see, Tim Hartnell's got his pieces already moved out, and 1K chess has barely moved. I mean, the rook should still be there. It's moved 2 pawns, and then it's moved its rook left and right, and that's not really a good strategy. So, and the last thing to look at is to take a look at the code. So again, it's a bit messy. This is the bottom of it. So you can exchange sides if you want, but you can see there's lots of randomness in here. I guess I'll do this again for anyone that wants to take a copy of this code and get it to run. So that's the top of it. Go up to 270. Go ahead and take a screenshot. Top of that. Take a screenshot. It's a few pages. It's about 12.5K. Take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. Oops. Hold on. Take a screenshot. Or freeze the video, I guess. Freeze the video. And, oh, yeah, overdoing it here. Freeze the video, take a screenshot. And we're almost there. There's one more page. There is a, yeah, there is a L-print to print to a printer, which, the ZX81 actually does have that, but my ZXSimulator doesn't. So anyway, yeah, so it's pretty interesting code. It's all in BASIC, about 12.5K. Certainly not 1K, but I do like when you see this, that you can kind of see it, you know, using a strategy, which is it's trying to hold the center and move the knights out early. And yeah, there's an illegal move, but again, this is my implementation of his code on the ZX81. So, and this I don't believe, I mean, obviously it made the same, it made an error on the actual QL, well, on the ZXSimulator. I guess I should play it on the original 81 to see if it makes similar mistakes, but I don't think this is an error on my ZXSimulator. It's just not doing very much, just addition, subtraction, using random and all that's been implemented. But yeah, interesting to see that work, and wanted to see. I might once I debug this, I might try to see if I can play other things, or you know, once I debug it, I might give this a second shot to see if how it does against the how this ZX1K chess actually does once it gets into trouble. I mean, it's just kind of sitting back and letting the the opponent just build the center, which I mean, the only piece it has out is a pawn, but these pieces are moving up. It'll be curious to see how well Tim Hartnell does, you know, once he actually has to attack. Certainly, if you hold the center, you have a much better chance of winning in chess. So Tim Hartnell's strategy is better than this very sort of sitting back and playing possum kind of. But then you have to have an endgame strategy. So he might not have that. So the ZX81 1K chess might actually then win or do better. In any case, I think I'll leave it there today. Thanks for joining me today. It's Halloween weekend, so everyone stay safe and eat lots of candy. And I'll see you in November for QLvember, which I'll have which you should have seen a brief intro on that to today's video. So come back and see some QL goodness in the month of November. All right, thanks a lot.